So should we start our event or should we wait till 9 p.m.? Just check it and let me know it soon.
Assalamu alaikum. Meanwhile, let us introduce our executive member of IEEE Robotics and Automation Society IUC Strength Chapter. Starting from myself, I am Kumira, currently studying in 7th semester Department of Tripoli. It is very nice to have you all in this day, and we are very much excited from Sir dear Loay Elbasyouni, and thank you all.
Okay, we'll start our event very shortly. It's almost the time. So just let's wait for 2 minutes.
Hello. Yeah, Loay Elbasyouni. Yes, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, so
Alaikum
Walaikum
salam.
salam.
Um,
How are you? How are you, everyone? It's good.
Alhamdulillah.
Ah,
okay, so I think we can start our event now. Okay, thank you so much, Mashfiq. Assalamu alaikum, and a very good evening to ladies and gentlemen. Hoping that you all are staying safe and healthy in the midst of this pandemic. Myself, Sarah Karim, Vice Chairperson on behalf of our IEEE Robotics and Automation Society, IUC Student Branch Chapter, and my team would like to present a gracious welcome to you all who have joined us here on Zoom, and we are live on Facebook. Today, our event has been glorified with the presence of our keynote speaker, Loay Elbasyouni. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. He is the lead power electronics engineer, Mass Ingenuity Helicopter, NASA JPL, Mission Mars 2020. And our chief guest, Professor Dr. Mashrurul Maula, Pro Vice Chancellor of International Islamic University of Chittagong, and our guest of honor, Professor Dr. Celia Shahnas Ma'am, co-founder and chairperson of IEEE RAS Bangladesh section. And we welcome our dearest Mohammad Abdul Qadir sir, advisor, IEEE Robotics and Automation Society, IUC Student Branch Chapter. I'm also honored to welcome all my fellow students joining from different countries, including India, Pakistan, Sweden, Philippines, Lesotho, and more. I wish you all a humble welcome and thank you all for joining us on this wonderful day and adding sparkles to this event. So let's begin our auspicious event with the praise of Almighty Allah. So for the recitation of the Holy Quran, I look forward to the presence of Muhammad Abdul Rahman.
Recording in
should-
progress.
Time? Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
It's our pleasure.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share something. Yeah. I, especially on behalf of the IUC family, would like to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has enabled us to hold this webinar. From Gaza to Mars, talk with Loay Elbasyouni. We are especially grateful to the Loay Elbasyouni, who is a scientist of NASA and was born in Gaza, Palestine, for being kind enough to deliver Celia Shahnas, Professor, Department of Tripoli, Buet, co-founder and chairperson, IEEE Robotic and Automation Society, and senior member of IEEE Fellow IAB, for kindly accepting our invitation to attend the program as guest of honor. We'd like to give the appreciation to the organizer, IEEE Robotics and Automation Society, IUC Student Branch Chapter of this webinar, From Gaza to Mars, talk with Loay Elbasyouni. We'd like to extend our thanks to guests from IUC and participants from home, like IUC, Suet, Islamic University of Technology, IUB, Premier University, DUET, BGC Trust University, North-South University, US and Automation Society is the world's largest technical society in the area of robotics and industrial automation. This society strives to advance innovation, education, and fundamental and applied research in robotics and automation. IIUC is connected to this society through IEEE Robotics and Automation Society, IUC Student Branch Chapter. The IUC Student Branch Chapter IEEE aims to develop the technical knowledge and skills of their members from the core and prepare them for the research and industrial field. This society continuously collaborating with scholars, professionals, along with holding workshops, tries to prepare their members for the fourth industrial revolution. This webinar will allow our students to learn and get motivated to accomplish what they think is impossible today. He and his work are true inspirations for everyone in engineering field and astronomy enthusiasts. Finally, thanks to Loay Elbasyouni for sharing his experience about the Mars mission, as well as his journey of being a NASA scientist. May Allah give us all the best of rewards. Thanks to all. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. It was a pleasure having you today. So the next dignity to honor us with her presence is our guest of honor for today, Professor Dr. Shelia Sahnas ma'am, co-founder and chairperson of IEEE Robotics and Automation Society, Bangladesh chapter. Ma'am, may we have you on mic, please?
Thank you, Sarah, for the humble introduction. Assalamu alaikum to all. Assalamu alaikum to all. And it's a great honor to be here. Honorable Pro-Vice Chancellor and faculty member, especially very exciting about the speaker Loay. So, and more important, more excited about the topic, you know. So Mars was a dream, and now we are thinking about robotics on Mars. And as a founder of Robotics and Automation Society chapter, let me share that what are the initiatives we are taking and how we are encouraging our student branches, really, because many student branches we have in Bangladesh, you know, we have a huge growth in terms of student membership. We are running 5th in the world compared to USA, Canada, India, and China. Consider the opportunities those countries have and consider the limitations we have. But as a leader, I tried my best to reach out almost every student and possible faculty member to guide them, to help them, to share them with the benefits, because ultimately it is the name of Bangladesh, you know. And that's why when we are residing in number 5th position, you really can't imagine that compared to the limited opportunity, what a amazing thing my faculty members and students have done. So apart from the student branch, which was less than 9 in 2014, now it is more than 55. And then we thought that let us introduce our student to the technical society chapters. When I visited IIUC for a conference, my request was, because I know IIUC has a lot of robotics enthusiasts. They are doing robotics club or something. So I requested them, let us come forward for IEEE Robotics and Automation Society chapter, because the moment you will come to it, immediately you will be exposed to world-class speakers like Loay and the opportunities. When I was the founder of Robotics and Automation Society chapter, the first thing immediately we did, we applied for this grant, and that was first grant was more than $1,000, and we have ran a robotics hackathon. And then immediately when the COVID started, I'm just telling you the opportunities so that IIUC Robotics Student Branch can collaborate with Robotics Society chapter and can have these benefits. And immediately in the COVID, we applied to Robotics and Automation Society and site and got around $5,000. And what was the topic? The topic was to train the students about building the disinfection robots, because there's a lot of business ventures going on and people are bringing disinfection robots from outside Bangladesh with huge cost. We wanted to create our own disinfection robots. And I am sure if IISc Robotics Student Branch chapter joins, it's an opportunity for you. Please take the momentum. Please join that design project that we can come up with the disinfection robots that you can use it in your campus for your disinfection. And then you can talk with Chittagong City Corporation so that it can be used in public plexus. These are the things. And I think, although our honorable speaker will be speaking about Mars robotics, but the knowledge you will gather that you can transform into any other robotics application. And most importantly, also we are encouraging healthcare robotics because it is COVID-19. And before COVID-19, the situation was different. And now we really need healthcare robotics and also social robotics, because we were very excited when Sophia came to us and has served food. But we have to really understand we are living in a country where meeting up the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, is very, very important. So to meet up the SDG, to what Professor Sir has said, to really embrace the fourth industrial revolution, so we have to really target some applications which will help us to make national contribution. Technology for the benefit of humanity. That is the slogan of IEEE. So I have just given you some example. I myself work with a waste collecting robot, and this waste collecting is not collecting waste from the dry area. It's collecting waste from the canals, from the water, because when you will design a robot that need to collect waste from the water, you need to modify your design, and you really need interdisciplinary research from electrical and mechanical engineering. And since I also work in deep learning, so I wanted to think that how we can leverage different disciplines together. Signal processing, computer vision, robotics, all are related. Computer society, computational intelligence society, signal processing society, robotics and automation society, all are related. So then I thought that how to collect another waste collecting robot that I have designed along with my students based on object detection. Really detect whether the object is waste or not. Think about it. Think about such robot in your classroom. Think about such robot for your mom in the kitchen. So look around the problem around you and find technological solution. You just do not need a PhD for it. Your enthusiasm and your mentorship from a supervisor is sufficient to design such robots. Forget about those line followers that we have been seeing all around our country. Try to transform your idea into product so that you student, I don't want my every student will be a researcher like me. I want my students to be an entrepreneurs also, so that they can suggest or they can fund my research. That is very important. I think Loay's presentation recently in, since I'm chairing Women in Signal Processing of 10 IEEE region, recently for global signal processing, from Global Women in Signal Processing, we have arranged a Women in Engineering track in the flagship conference, ICAS, where we have invited Vandi Varma. Loay may know her very well. Vandi Varma from Mars Robotics, and she has presented her research on robotics on Mars, and it was so interesting. And I think the training that today Loay will give us, it will be actually life-changing training for all of you, and you can really leverage that knowledge to the requirement you need to serve your community. That is very, very important. So wish you all the best, but I really want to request every faculty member, every student, please keep the momentum of IEEE Bangladesh section. Please work to enhance the momentum of Bangladesh section. It has been more than 27 years. We have to work so hard to stay in Bangladesh and increase the face of IEEE Bangladesh technical activities to the rest of the world. So now the reputation has been built up, and that's why people are giving importance to you. People are receiving accepting your invitation. So we have to really understand that, and we have to really work together in collaboration. I'm so happy today to see Loay, who has agreed to dedicate his time and talent for IIUC Robotics Student Month chapter. So I'm really grateful. I express my gratitude to Loay for such a dedication, for giving time. People say us we are underdeserved community. Actually, compared to USA, Canada, and China and India, we are underserved community, but we are in place 5. So that's important. That means our students, our faculty members have the potential, Loay. Hope you will enjoy the talk, Loay, and we will learn a lot from you. I had a departmental meeting going on and very difficult, so I may need to leave, but I will try my best to listen to most of the part of the session. Thank you, IIUC Robotics Student Month chapter, for taking such an initiative. But I always remind you, if you need any help, any help, please let me know, and I will be always there to support you, no matter, because I'm not Robotics and Automation Society chapter of WIT where I'm serving. It's a Robotics and Automation Society chapter of the whole Bangladesh. So I really will feel myself privileged if I can guide you, if I can help you, if I can provide any technical support you needed. Thank you once again, Sarah, Honorable Pro VC, and our faculty members and all talented students who has taken such a visionary step. Thank you, Loay. Welcome to Bangladesh. Thank you once again. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful speech. It was good having you, for giving us your precious time to us. Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to request all the audience to turn on the camera if possible, so that we can save some memories of this event. So I request all of you to turn on their cameras, please. Yeah, just someone let us know if it's done.
Yeah, we have taken.
Okay, thank you, Mushfiq. So NASA has created a history when they flew the Ingenuity helicopter on Mars, an epic achievement, 170 million miles away from Earth. And this incredible achievement reflected the journey of one of our lead NASA engineer in California, Loay Elbasyouni, who grew up in Gaza and moved to America as a 20 years young guy to pursue his dream. Now it's time to call our brilliant and exceptional Palestinian man whose journey from Gaza to Mars has made quite headlines lately. He is a source of inspiration and hope for so many of us and for young people all around the world. So wasting no time, let's get started. Good morning, Loay, and great to have you with us today.
Good morning. Just want to thank you, and IIUC, and thank the IEEE Robotics Society for this opportunity.
First of all, I and my team would like to convey your warm congratulations on your wonderful achievements, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
We all are very excited to have a Mars exploration with you. So first of all, let's hear a few words from you about your presence here today.
Yeah, so I've been, working on. I came to United.
So now the reputation has been built up.
Oh, hearing some voices, but
I think can you just please mute your mic, everyone, like who are not talking?
Yeah, so I came.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
It's okay. So I give you a little bit of So I don't know if a lot of you know, I worked part of the Mars helicopter team. So currently we have 4 active robots on Mars. I mean, if anybody can guess them, but I mean, the helicopter is one of them. I mean, we don't have humans yet, but we have robots. So I was part of the helicopter team. I was working as electrical and power electronic lead, and I designed motor controllers, servo controllers, and worked part of the motor design team and the motor control algorithm. My background, I'm originally from Palestine, from Gaza. I grew up in Gaza. I went to school in Gaza, and then I came to United States to study electrical engineering. So I mean, went through a lot of difficulties. Coming to the US, getting the visa, and then struggle and work and pay for my own university. I mean, it's very expensive to live here. So a lot of time, we take for granted, our access to education if we have it in our home country.
Yes.
Not as easy as a lot of people think it is, being in the United States. From there, I had to kind of prove myself and be able to get into the job market and worked on a lot of different things, followed my passion, worked on electric vehicles, a lot of electric vehicles and hardware design, electronic design. And from there, I worked on the electric airplanes. So I mean, a lot of like unmanned aircraft, which is basically flying robotics. And from that, I got into work with the Mars helicopter, and currently I'm working as a, managing an engineering team we design a lot of different electronics. Actually, a lot of them, power electronics is utilized for like robotics or, like semiconductor processing or aerospace. So
we have a bunch of technical and non-technical questions for you, Loay. Hope
Sure.
I'll not cross any lines and be within the policy terms. So do let me know if it's not going. So shall we start now? And
Yes,
if you're
go
ready,
ahead.
so shall we start? Yeah, okay. So how are your childhood memories in Gaza? A place close to Israel border, seething with tension, with poverty and war. How was your life back then?
Yeah, so I grew up, I lived during the first Intifada, which is the uprising. That's probably before a lot of your people's time. It was really kind of difficult, because we constantly live under military occupation. So a lot of time, our school was closed. Kids threw some stuff closed. We had a lot of strike days. So a lot of time I had to self-study. I grew up living in groves, so agricultural land, working on orange trees and other kind of trees. Yeah. That's kind of really how I spent my childhood. It was really enjoyable. I love it.
So how was your life when you first moved to USA? It might be quite a difficulty.
It was a big cultural shock because everything is, it's very expensive. So, and I had to I think I got my first job after probably 1 month being in the United States. That was practically my first job I ever worked, and I started working. So I was working roughly about 90 to 100, 105 hours a week, average of 2.5 people, to be able to save money to go to school. I worked the first 6 months because I wasn't, my school didn't start until September, and I got here in March. So I practically worked all that period. And then after that, I went to university, and I was hoping I'd be able to, I had a reduced tuition for 1 semester, but then I couldn't work. So it was really difficult to be in a small town. So I had to move to another place and go to another university. And, I was working and studying there, and then things got a lot difficult, so it wasn't really an easy journey. I had to drop out of school for a year. From 2001 to 2002, and then actually transferred to another university to study. I saved some money to pay for the university. So it was not really a very easy journey. You have to succeed. You have to be very dedicated, and have strong belief that you can achieve what you really wanted to achieve. So I think that's always kind of drove me, trying to make my parents proud and, represent Palestine the best way I can. So.
Yeah. So that was a quite tough journey, I see. So from a Palestinian man, what inspired to choose this field?
I mean, I always loved. I always loved like aerospace and engineering. I mean, I always thought about I'll be one kind of different type of engineer. I always like to make things. I mean, I used to design. I might build antennas when I was like probably 10, 12 years old. You know, like to just pick up different from countries around us. You know, and you know, like fixing electronics. I mean, you know, I used to buy like bad electronics and just always work on them, like take parts and fixing them together. So I've always had the passion for that. In the same time, I was like, I wanted to make something that I could grow to make a company. So I'm like, I'm not there yet, you know. So, and that's really my real ambition.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Okay. So now let's move to some technical questions. So like, how did NASA team up with you, or how did they approach you?
So I was working with a UAV company that did design like aircraft, and we worked on a lot of different things with NASA in the past. I mean, we designed Helios, which is, you know, I mean, a solar plane that flew to 100,000 feet, and we also designed like things like Hummingbird, which is very small electronics. A lot of the stuff we design is super lightweight. I was the primary guy who designed the power electronic for the company, and from there, you know, I was like, you know, I mean, I basically designed almost most of the motor controller they have flying. And the Mars helicopter project came, you know, I was asked, it's like, you know, I think, you know, you'd be, you know, good in this project, you know, I mean, can you be the electrical lead? Because I was early on, that before we even had to get into the design. And I just wanted to get on it because it's just such a cool thing, you know, because back then we just were building, it was actually very simple because we just assembling things off a shelf in the beginning, just to make a small prototype. It was very exciting. And, you know, and since then I worked on it. That was like back in 2013. So, you know, and then after that, you know, like, you know, the project got funded, and like, you know, I just became part of the design team and worked on it all the way through the end of the design.
So how was your feeling when NASA approached you, or you were up to make a team with NASA? How was your feeling that time?
I mean, it's really incredible because, I mean, I worked with a lot of people at JPL. I mean, I used to go to JPL a lot of time. I mean, I think and it was really like, it's really cool. I mean, I actually had to, one time I was going the next day and I had to actually take the helicopter with me in the car. So that was like, well, it's like, you know, that was like,
that's enjoyable.
But it's very stressful. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah.
But no, so I mean, yeah, so I was like so excited, you know, to actually be part of it, and, you know, and like do anything I could, you know, work overtime projects I worked on.
Okay. So what role did you play on the Mars mission, especially? On what specific role did you play on this mission?
So I was the electrical, so we built the helicopter, like the body, and we built, you know, so that including like all the rotorcraft, the motor, the servos. So, I mean, the helicopter, you know, actually consists of, I mean, there was like three, like the servos that control the pitch, you know, for the control. And then there's two propulsion motors, you know, with the motor controller. They actually live in the Mars atmosphere. Most of the electronic live in the bottom, the box that, you know, probably seen the golden box. That's the warm box. So like the computer, the control computer that control like the autonomous stuff, all like in that box, the motor controller and the motor and the servo controller, all of that live outside in the Mars atmosphere. So I was responsible for all the electrical stuff out that would live in the Mars atmosphere, which is actually some of the hardest, and all of it were custom designed. And I did schematics, I did layouts, I worked, you know, like winding motors. I actually tested the motors, you know, I worked on the electrical stuff on the motor. I worked on the software algorithm with some of the software guy who wrote, you know, it's the software for, you know, control algorithm. So it was like me and him working on the algorithm. So, I mean, this is the things I work on. I had, you know, a couple other engineers, electrical engineer working the projects, like, you know, laying out the servo controllers and stuff like that. But
yeah, that's quite challenging and adventurous.
Yeah, so doing a lot of the testing, a lot of the stuff. I mean, so I mean, we had some difficulties in the beginning on the projects that, you know, had to figure a way of solving it. I mean, there's quite a bit of innovation we have done, like like the way we drove the motor to make the motor so lightweight, and you know, so I mean that.
So yeah, like, so you and your teammates, did you guys feel any pressure, like working on this very big mission or something like that?
Actually, there was a lot of pressure because, you know, it's the way we thought about it. So, I mean, the mission was to send a rover. So Mars 2020 is like it's a Perseverance mission. You know, the helicopter back then was called Leonardo and was not really approved to go to Mars. So it's like we had to prove ourselves, succeed, that to be able to like hitch a ride, you know. So like everything, like even the funding was not like fully funded. So it was a low budget project in the beginning that like we had to prove everything, be able to, because like it is a fantasy idea, you know. It's like a lot of people did not believe it would work. I mean, you know, so it's like we had to really prove that everything in the Mars atmosphere chamber on Earth before, I mean, until actually we flew like the first aircraft in the Mars atmosphere chamber on Earth, like still it was not approved. I think it took, you know, about several months afterward before it actually, like the NASA director approved to go up on board the you know, Perseverance rover, you know, on the same rocket ship. So.
And that was a quite long and tedious journey, I must say then. So,
yeah.
Okay, so just let me ask that, did you face any obstacles in the mission due to being a Palestinian or coming from a Middle East country?
No, not really. I mean, the team consists of a lot of people from, you know, I mean, a lot of different countries. I mean, we're all American citizens, but, you know, so I mean, like really like I haven't really felt anything myself. I mean, like especially on that project. But you know, I think being the top power electronic guys, I mean, my company wanted me to work on other things, so I had to like juggle, you know, the ball, and actually a lot of time work on different projects, and I had to like kind of in a way wanted to fight to stay in the project, you know, so that was kind of difficult to work a lot of overtime to be able to make up for that, but that's really, you know.
Yeah, that's very nice to hear then. Okay, so as we know, the environment on Mars is very unfavorable. So what are the challenges you guys faced while flying Ingenuity on Mars?
So I mean, so in reality, there is like almost no air. I mean, there's only 1% of the air pressure.
Yes, 1%.
So the idea itself is like, you know, in the beginning is like almost sound like a fantasy, because like, you know, it's like most people be like, there's no way you can fly on Mars. And a lot of people like you know, I have a lot of friends who are actually scientists, like they don't work for NASA, other companies and stuff. And they were like laughing on the flight date. They said, there's no way it's going to fly, you know? So, you know, so we, you know, so that drove a lot of the requirements, so that, you know, when we came up with the mathematics, I mean, everything was based on theoretical analysis, you know, it's like, can it fly? Then what's the weight have to be? You know, so it's like that ended up coming into like all the electronics, everything. The aircraft need to be like around 1 kilogram, a little bit over maybe, you know. And it's like oh, maybe the gravity will help us, but in reality, the gravity is like 1/3, but it doesn't really help you because you cannot create airlift because there's no air. So then that's what driven the size. That's why the helicopter have very large props. And then a lot of the weight. So one of the biggest challenges for me, like when we like design the system and divide the weight down to like all the subsystems, you know, like, you know, all the electronics had to have very little weight that space electronic could not be used. So, you know, because like, you know, I mean, we had to utilize like a lot of Earth graded electronics, and then like be very innovative in the way, you know, it's like, because I mean, design inverters like it's multiple hundreds of watts, and then it's like how to figure to make it super lightweight, you know. So like we use every single factor we know, including like the duration of the flight. I think yesterday or the day before, the flight just flew 166 seconds, which is a lot higher than we expected to fly, you know. So I mean, you know, so it's like, you know, like, you know, the mission was like we did a lot of things based on calculation, and we like way overachieved. in success on the mission, and like, like once we get a lot of this data back, we'll probably understand a lot of like, like a lot of the reason that we succeeded, because, sometimes everything is based on estimation and calculation. We don't have a lot of sample size for Mars. We don't know, we only have like, 5 rovers to this point. So, a lot of the real tests came back from this rover. Not everything else is basically an estimation based on physics. It's like, we predict what's the air density, because the air density could have been off, couldn't, could be less or more, so.
Yeah, that's quite challenging. Yeah, I must say. So how does the helicopter power itself as it's on Mars? So how does it power itself there alone?
Yeah, so the helicopter, it's actually, initially I was like actually connected to the Perseverance rover, and that was powered through the power station on the Perseverance rover until the Perseverance rover dropped it onto the ground. And then it actually have a solar panel. So the solar panel charged like some lithium ion batteries internally, typically to every single, robots you guys build. So that's the reason probably sometimes it takes days between flights, because it will take a few days to fully charge the battery, because actually the majority of the energy is actually utilized to actually warm up the battery and warm up the warm box, because like a lot of the electronic cannot operate below -40 degrees C. The battery itself, the thermal does not operate very well below -25. Definitely doesn't operate at all below -40 C. So basically the battery is warming itself up and use a lot of energy for that. And a lot of that energy escape. And then before it fly, actually it warm up the electronics that's outside. And, so that's basically, and then it will actually charge itself. It have to leave enough energy in it to survive the next night, and then it charge up itself through the solar panel.
So how much time does it take to charge the helicopter usually?
It depends on the available sun, but I would probably presume about 1 day.
Oh, 1 day. So how does it, how much time does it take to communicate from Earth to Mars, or how is being controlled and everything?
So yeah, the communication, in terms of, physics, it's take about 39 minutes based on the DNS system. But by the time you download, because there's a lot of data to fly, and you have to send it to the rover, and the rover will send it to the helicopter. That been probably averaging about 3.5 hours. So any flight will be sent about 3.5 to 4 hours before flight. And usually, there is 2 different methods. You could communicate with the rover directly, or you could communicate with the site, depending on the location around Mars. There's a couple satellites around Mars that they talk with the Deep Space Network, which consists of 3 satellites on Earth, one in Australia, one in Spain, and one in North America. And they basically talk to the satellite, talk to the rover. The rover talk with the helicopter. So the helicopter just only have a short range antenna that actually does not even exceed. I don't know, I think this actually we were surprised a little bit, actually got larger coverage than thought. So that's how actually we're able to fly more missions, because it had to be in proximity to the rover. They could not be too far apart.
Okay, so is it possible to fix any software issues on helicopter from here to Mars?
Yeah, they actually did. So they had a software glitch that, when they switched from simulation mode to flight mode, that, I think it got one of the timeouts that, cool to talk to engineers. So, one of the washed out timers out. So that's actually one of the problem happened in I believe in the second flight or the first flight before it flew. And then they had to override it manually, just in the manual commands, sequence, and to overcome the timeout issue. But they actually were able to solve that problem and solve another problem, and they actually loaded a new software before they flew the last 8th and 9th flight.
Oh, and what about the hardware issues?
Oh, if there is a hardware issue, good luck. We'll have to send
That's unlucky then. Okay, so
well,
how
yes, there is some fault mitigation if like some things happen. I mean, you could like recycle power, things like that. So I mean, there's always mitigation how to turn things on.
Yeah. Okay, got it. So like, how does the helicopter protect itself from space radiation or any kind of barrier?
That's a good one. So I mean, like it's really like it really cannot protect itself. So if we get hit by solar flare or something like on Mars, probably will not. Most likely, will not survive. That you know because the flight time or the life of the helicopter is short. Probability we are able to calculate, like the possibility of the amount of radiation, and everything on the helicopter was tested for that, on that number of radiation, and everything had to survive. So when I went through the design, I had to actually select a lot of different parts and like send them all to the radiation lab to be able to survive, because it does not use like radiation hardened parts, which is like most other space stuff. So I mean, it's like this is probably be fine, for the mission type. I mean, it's already accomplished its mission. So
okay, so like, how did you guys simulate Mars environment on Earth, and how did you guys do that? Like, Mars atmosphere is somehow a big challenge, I must say. So it's different from Earth and different from Mars. So how did you guys manage it?
So at NASA JPL, they have a facility. They actually, basically it's a big, like metal jar that they basically suck out all the air out of it, like to create a vacuum, and then they inject, carbon dioxide. That so to simulate the Mars atmosphere as much as possible. I mean, the majority of the Mars atmosphere consists of carbon dioxide, and to simulate gravity, this is actually the funny thing. They just like tie a string into the helicopter to counter the weight. So, because I mean, it's not that easy to create artificial gravity.
Yeah, it's totally right.
Yeah, so but that's basically it. It's pretty simple actually.
Oh, okay. So, what was your favorite part in this project altogether?
The favorite part is like when the flight took the I mean, it's like the first flight. That was my favorite part. I mean, because like it's really like cool to work with someone going to NASA. All right, that's like okay, that's pretty cool. And then the second thing is like I was like, oh, I have a hardware on Mars, so even if the helicopter didn't fly, it's like, oh, I still have something that I touch with my hands. It's like board I laid out, actually like got to Mars. And then the third is like, actually when it flew the first time, and so I mean that's really my proudest moment. It's like when it took the first flight. I mean, being like even like achieving all these other achievement afterward, like it's really exciting. But like nothing feel like the first flight, even I tried to watch the video again, and it did not feel the same. So like
the first part is always the special. Yeah. So I have noticed that a total of 4 spikes are on the propellers. So can you just shortly describe their functions?
The propellers? Yeah. So I mean, it's a coaxial propeller, so it's like it's counter rotate. That's how it creates balance. That's how it actually does on its body. Because if you have one prop, because like there are 2 of them spin in one direction, the other one spin in the other direction to create like so like it doesn't kind of turn around itself. I don't know if that makes sense. Because if you have only one, because it doesn't have a tail, so that's why you need like 4 to create the lift. And then it's like you got the servos. The servo adjusts the pitch, and that's how it can go right and left. It's like by adjusting. So it's basically like a full helicopter.
So what about the spikes in the propellers?
So the size is like driven by actually the air density. So like to create lift in a 1% atmosphere had to be a lot bigger. So it's practically, it's like several times, like about 3-4 times bigger than the equivalent propeller would be on Earth. And also like a spin about 5 times faster. So if you do the math, I mean, that's probably about 25 times, if you like multiply. I mean, it'd be like, it's an order of magnitude of how much more lift it can create, like a thrust underneath the propeller.
So is carbon fiber used on the propeller?
Yes. Yes. I mean,
Yeah,
since
like
it's
what are the reasons? Can you just shortly
all
describe?
yeah, it's all the aircraft is made out of carbon fiber, but actually it was all handmade. It's like all of it was, was made by some of the engineer I worked with. I mean, it's really kind of interesting just laying the films layer on top layers and like molding it. So it was a very interesting process.
Okay, so basically, people frequently ask like why we spend so much on exploring other planet instead of making the Earth a better place to live in. So, what's your opinion on this, and why is space exploration so important?
Because I mean, there's two things. I mean, everybody can look at it differently. One, it's like exploring. It's like think about it as a race. So if you have a race with no goal, like we can do a lot of R&D, it doesn't have a goal. Probably not going to be as successful as we like say this race to get to Mars. Let's like explore Mars. That's from one aspect. So like that advanced technology, a lot of these advancement like solar panels, like certain radio communication, like wireless power transfer. A lot of these stuff were invented for space. Like even the transistor. So I mean, a lot of this stuff come back. That's from one. The second thing is like now we're learning about Mars. Like actually, I become a lot more appreciative of Earth after I learned of Mars. It's like I didn't know about space radiation. I didn't know it's like I mean, it's like it's like you send an iPhone to Mars. There's no way it's gonna work. Not because of temperature. It's because of space radiation. So it's like I mean, a lot of these things make us appreciate Earth more. It's like we have a very special planet, and also like studying Mars that kind of help us about the future of Earth. So in terms of like climate shift, things like that. So a lot of these things actually help us. So I mean, most of the studies that the rovers do is actually looking for alternative why this life, if there was a life, why did this life go away? I mean, if we prove that there is life, that life went away, then we know like things change in the universe can affect it. If there is no life, then we know Earth is more special. So I mean, in anything, I think can help us. Also, advanced physics, mathematics. So a lot of time we proving by going there, we prove like that there is only this much amount of air instead of just keeping speculating about it. Also, like flying a helicopter in Mars is actually give us like we can use this knowledge back on Earth to it's to actually like fly on the top of the Himalayas, for example, because there's very thin air. And also like advancement for robotics, because now we are forced to be completely autonomous. Like there's like you cannot plan on human intervention, so you can actually advance the robots to be like much more sophisticated than we probably can do. So I mean, and the other thing is like to me, it's like when the space race started as a result of the Cold War. So and it's like we already were spending a lot of money into developing weapons and things like that. And this was like, okay, the Soviet Union at the time and the United States compete in a different way, to like, like into a space race, So instead of what competing number of like nuclear heads and the number of nuclear missiles, they competed to go into space. And I think that actually kind of worked good. And I wish that, we just compete to reach further planets than try to build more weapons.
So do you think is it possible in the near future, like in 50 years from now, to colonize on Mars? And what's your opinion on that?
I said I love Earth. I probably wouldn't go, I mean, to live there. But I mean, the thing is like, I mean, it's very it's very unlivable. So like any life that can happen, it's gonna have to happen inside of a capsule, So, and this is without even knowing what's the effect of like the gravitational forces on us, the effect of space radiation for a long period of time. So, I think we might send human mission for just like expeditions and just discoveries, even though we don't need them because we have robots. I mean, I don't think there's any need to send humans, other than saying we did send humans. But I mean, I don't think it hurts to have a colony in Mars. I mean, just in case anything happened to Earth, we'd have humans surviving a catastrophe that destroyed Earth. But I mean, other than that, I don't even see a real reason. I mean, other than just like it's just cool. It's just like, it's really good to advance science and discover more.
Yeah, let's hope for the best then. Actually, do any audience have questions? You guys can raise your hand and ask your questions freely. If anyone have your questions. Okay, so you guys can question in the chat box and I'll just read it to Loay. Yes. Oh, okay. Okay, so they can question themselves.
Thank you. Which software do NASA engineers use for power supply design? Like in Bangladesh, we use Altium or Cadence to design like different converters, like buck boost converters. In NASA engineers, which software do you use, and which software we have to learn considering the preferences? Thank you.
For software design, or say hardware design?
For hardware design, like different converters, inverters.
I mean, I think different engineers use different things. Like there isn't really a defined software. It's all about preference. I mean, I use I use Altium for all schematic designs. I mean, that's always like practically the choice of most of the company I worked for the last maybe 10 years, except the last 2 years. Different project is different. I don't think there is emphasis to what to use. I mean, for simulation, I use actually free LT Spice. So, I mean, I use other software before, but there isn't really anything special. I mean, MATLAB is very common used in most places.
So thank you, Tanvir. Do any of you guys have any questions? You guys can just unmute and ask yourselves.
You get surprised sometimes. It might not even be as advanced you think. No, I mean, it is PID for the majority of it. A lot of the stuff used, that's probably the best you can do. I mean, some of them just like the PNI, so.
Yeah.
I mean, the most important thing for anything that flies is weight, so, because the lower the weight, the higher the payload. So because I mean, fly anything, you have a limited weight you can lift. So, the higher the weight of the aircraft, that means the less likely it can carry anything else. So, I mean, that's really the most important thing. So you always have to keep in mind, how can you make it the lightest weight? So the helicopter actually use mainly use the image processing for the navigation. That's the black and white camera in the bottom. That's the navigation camera. I mean, I use other things like LiDARs and other things like that in the past.
Are there any internships as which we can apply for as a fresh graduate in NASA?
I'm not really sure. I think there's international programs that I think the country have to be part of it. I'm not really sure. That's you'll have to really check online. I'm not really an expert on that.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. Am I audible?
Yes.
My question is, what was the first hardware design issue you faced, and at the place you just tested the project?
What's my hardware design issues I faced?
Yeah, at the first time, and in where you tested the project that simulate the Mars environment.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, there isn't really a lot of hardware issues when testing in the Mars atmosphere. I mean, most stuff like when you do anything, you really do not test at the atmosphere or like the situation. So everything you kind of break down. So like, you would break down with, like, for example, like test temperature. I just tested it on my bench. I didn't really use anything special. I wanted to simulate the temperature. I literally use a spray gun. Like there's an ice spray gun that you can cool things and then just measure temperature like that. Like you take like, for example, like to test at low temperature, we just, run a temperature cycle, like for example, on the MOSFETs, just like run them at negative 40 degrees C to see if there's anything, outside of the norm. This is really the way I work for. Like usually you always worry about things that heat up. So with that, I mean, you don't even need anything complicated. You could even use like a hair dryer to heat up your board and, test it that way on your bench. It's like a lot of time I think we complicate things that make it seem more difficult. I mean, you can do it in a lot of easiest way. And a lot of time, this is the design approach I do. It's like, I don't really wait until the project is ready to go into the atmosphere chamber, or it is in the simulation chamber, because a lot of time that costs a lot of money, so it's like, and I didn't really have a single failure after that point, because, I tested everything on the bench, it's like, I know exactly how it operates. I test all the corner cases even before the software was ready. I mean, I use a function generator to PWM the MOSFETs. I just tested them in my bench to see the losses, to make sure that I'm getting, so like when you break things like that, you end up like, that's how you can achieve things to work on the first time. Never give up. I mean, sometimes I look, I mean, you probably have easier path. I mean, you don't really have to struggle through figuring out how to pay for your undergraduate. So at least you finish, you finish school and in a place you probably can afford. So I mean, but my thing is, like, you have to have passion. What anything you do is like you have to have love and passion for, and that's really what's gonna make you succeed. So it's like, and like you never really give up. No matter what happened. I mean, I could have failed many times. I mean, I failed many times, and you just like, when you fail and you try again. I mean, I had passion for electric cars. I worked in a lot of companies that, I refused to go work for a big company, make more money, just go work for a small company, just starting up. And, 1 year later, they run out of money and I have to find another job. So, I mean, it's just like you have to follow your passion, and that's going to make you like, like every time you fail, you get up and try again. I mean, I don't think you have to be special. I mean, I don't think I have any special skill other than just like, be patient, and and then like be determined. It's like whenever you fail, you just try again. I mean, that's just fail and retry.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
You mentioned microcontrollers, hardware design, and power electronics. How did you cover all of these topics?
I mean, that's when you work in power electronics, you'll have to really understand a lot of things. Honestly, by trade, I mean, I studied hardware design, my undergrad, and I studied control and control communication electromagnetism for my master. And I studied actually also computer science. I never really finished my master in computer science. I'm kind of halfway there. So I mean, a lot of times, like, to be an architect of a system, you really have to understand control, which means you have to understand microprocessor, and and to be able to control like power electronics, because the power electronics, especially motor controls, it required a lot of like processing power. So a lot of time, if you don't understand the control, you cannot really like figure out how you actually solve the controllability of the motor. So I mean, that's, and especially if you want to optimize for the max, like you want to optimize for the maximum power per gram, it's not really the maximum efficiency. And there's a lot of times misconception. It's like, we think it's like, to make the most efficient system, you have to achieve the maximum efficiency. Sometimes it is the maximum output torque per gram, because, it's like it's flying. So, like, carrying your own weight, it adds cost, right? So I don't know if I answered your question, but.
Thank you very much.
I have actually my next meeting canceled. If you want to ask, if people have a couple more questions, I'll be happy to stay a little bit more.
Yeah. Hello. Good morning. Good morning, Loay. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
How are you? Congratulations for your achievement. And I just want to ask about what type of laboratory experiments is the helicopter being proceed in the Mars, and is there any possibilities to send some microbiological biological things to grow some living environment for our human being?
So I mean, sending anything, I mean, usually everything goes through contamination. So like, even our own DNA is probably get washed off, because like there is international treaty against like sending things into space, just because we don't want to contaminate, cross-contaminate, space, because, we're trying to test for life. So I think the past mission, they had some contamination. They thought they found something. It just is something they just sent there. And so I don't know if there is, can you? Yes, you can. Should you? I don't know. That's a different argument. I think anything will have like that have to be done within the international law on space, which is, I'm not really a top expert on it, but.
Thank you.
So I think that was an end of a question. Any question, guys? Feel free to ask.
Am I audible?
Yes.
First of all, congratulations, Mr. Elbasyouni. And it is really an honor to have with you among us. And we are really proud to have you. Thank you very much for your time. And the question I was about to ask is, as you said that you failed several times, right?
Yes.
Have you never felt that it never felt like giving up everything, or feeling down, or not motivated at all? I'm sure it did. And what do you do then when it feels like giving up everything? How do you cheer up yourself? How do you motivate? How do you bring passion to your heart?
Yes, I also wanted to ask this.
Yeah, so I mean, yes. So I mean, first of all, it's like, I don't know, this is maybe something I had since I was a kid. I never really, it's like, okay, I had, even like let's say I never got my visa to come to the US. I mean, I had other plans. It's like, if I don't succeed in this, I would probably want to do this, even though it's not written down, it's like, I always doing multiple things. So it's like, you always can keep yourself busy. I mean, and I was like, yes, this is the first thing I want to do. My dad wanted me to be, finish my engineering school. That's what he sent me. So I need to really do it, so, I mean, otherwise I could probably just like open a restaurant and sell pizza, but I mean, I think we overcomplicate it sometimes, it's like success is really relative I mean, there's a lot of successful people. We do different things. Maybe it's just sound cooler to fly something on Mars, but I think, you can succeed in a lot of different ways. I mean, like you just have to be positive and, just like, and just like try again. I mean, and sometimes like it might not be the right thing for you. I mean, yes, you have the passion to be an engineer or you want to do something. You have to be open to change avenue. You have to be open. I mean, my first job, I worked testing in a test site, in a shield room testing cell phones. I loved RF, I loved cell phones, I loved communication, but at the same time, I was like, nah, I don't think that's for me. So I started looking for something different. And sometimes that transition can be difficult. It's like I had to make like last decisions, like when I transferred from one university to the next. So I had to sacrifice, my brother was living there, all my friends, and I had to like literally just like move away, like 100 kilometers, like I don't know anybody. And, so like, sometimes like you have to like make decisions. You have to sacrifice things. You have to be open to change. Sometimes you might not be the best at what you do right now, so sometimes like you really need to evaluate these things. So I said, so I failed paying my tuitions, and I had to like find an alternative way, to find another school that take me. And then like I decided to work in my passion, work in electric cars, and I moved, I moved like 3,000 miles just to get to get a job and something to do my passion. So I had to sacrifice a lot, by moving. So I mean, you have to like do this. You have to be open to sacrifice, and then it's like you can work on something. You have to be open to failing, and like an exit. I mean, like I remember like my first company, like actually like I saw it is going out of business. I kind of like 2 months before I decided to jump ship. I didn't really wait, until like in some other instances I waited until the last minute. So but in the same time I was confident. I set myself to like I'm always prepared. I always have my CV prepared. I always like network to be ready for the next moment. So I think the worst probably moment was like when actually I dropped out of school for a year. I was really kind of, because I was working so hard and I like noticed I was not saving enough money. So I was like, I thought I would probably never finish school, and then I was like, at the end, I had to make a decision. I was like, I need to move to, this other university is cheaper, and I focused to study for like my first semester and I was able to get a scholarship. But it's like, you have to really think and you have to plan, I mean, if you really cannot do that, sometimes like, you can fail. And also like the other thing that helps, especially like with health, and like mental state of like your state of like mental health, because I mean that's really very important. And actually, I think I recommend like exercising, being active in sport, because a lot of time that actually makes you have stronger will. So I mean a lot of time that like it's not really related to studying, but like actually exercising can help, because like it help your like hormone balance and things like that. I found that a lot of times like that's what can get me out, of like these like bad, health states, like you gone through like mental health, like, especially like if you failed and, and how can you really stand up after you fall down?
Thank you so much, Mr. Elbasyouni. That was really helpful.
So how is it now? Like is it like this is something different that you're always looking for?
Yes, I mean, I wanted to always start my own company. So I started a company as a kid. I mean, I used to always do things, I always invented stuff. I mean, I used to make clocks. I used to make a lot of different things. I always tried to sell, so I wanted to be the inventor that sell things. I mean, I'm kind of a hybrid between Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla, but I'm still like an employee, man. So I'm still working in companies. I mean, I still like, work for the paycheck, which is, I mean, it is kind of hard because, I mean, I didn't really have an opportunity to be able to start my own company because I don't really have the finances. So I mean, I had to always work for something. So, I mean, that's really my next step. I mean, I tried a couple of times. I tried it in college, just 2 to 3 times companies. And I mean, I was semi-successful in one, and then, I mean, I was successful. And then like, I mean, other ones, I don't know if I said I failed, or just like I failed in achieving that point. It's, sometimes, going back to the success and failure, like you don't really fail like as your whole life. I mean, you fail in that point. It's like, you climbing up a stair, right? And you just fail stepping one step, you miss that step. What do? Do you just stop there? Or you just keep going, you just step again, because like you already climbed like 25%, and you just miss one step. So, I mean, that's the way I really look at it. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I tried to start a company, I failed raising funds. I mean, did I fail? My idea is still there. So, I mean, I could try again, so, I mean, then that's what I really want to do. I mean, I want to really have my own company that make a difference in the world, that help, help us on Earth, help humanity as a whole. And then from there, I could do a lot more things, like more innovative things than just like work on one project, I mean. Weight. Just weight, to reduce the weight. I mean, carbon fiber is the strongest and lightest weight polysubstance we know.
Okay, I think that's the end of the question answer session. We wish you very best, Loay, for starting your own company. Best of luck from us. And due to this pandemic situation, we are not able to give out the token of appreciation in person. So we are going to show our token of appreciation through screen share. So
thank you.
I would like to present the token of appreciation.
Thanks.
I think it will be shown in the screen.
I have already shared. Is it visible?
Thank you so much. Really pleasure to talk with all of you.
Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Loay, for sharing your valuable time with us. Thank you so much. We are really honored for your time.
Thank you. Anything I can help with. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.